Our first guest is an integrated health practitioner, registered health coach, speaker, and host of her own Don't Wait for the Wake Up Call podcast. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Melissa Deely. Thank you so much for being here, Melissa. And how is your day going?
Thank you for having me, Jason. And I'm having an excellent day today. It's a little chilly here, but it's a good day.
That's great. Yeah, here in Tennessee, it's a little bit chilly as well. The weather is changing quite a bit.
Yeah, fall is definitely in the air, but it's my favorite season. I just love seeing all the colors in the trees.
Yeah, same here. The first thing to start off is speaking about the nice weather. I assume it affects people's mood, but I'd like to start by asking, what is an integrated health practitioner?
So an integrative health practitioner is somebody that is using many modalities and looking at the whole being. So in my training, I've been trained to incorporate Chinese traditional medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, bioregulatory medicine, orthomolecular medicine, naturopathy, because there is no one best medicine, right? But we can take all of different pieces of different forms of medicine in order to guide people's healing. So I'm not a doctor. I am a registered health coach. And then as an integrative health practitioner, I don't diagnose, I don't cure. What I do is I help people get to the root cause of their underlying health issues and where the body is out of balance, and then bring the body back into balance, at which point it will heal itself. And my mentor, Dr. Cabral, he was diagnosed at age 17 with multiple chronic illnesses and told by mainstream medicine, we can't do anything more for you. Here's a drug, hopefully it'll make you feel better and you have this for life. And he just couldn't believe that, wouldn't believe that, and spent the next 10 years traveling and studying and learning about all of these different types of medicine because he wanted to find the best medicine, right? And so he's a naturopathic doctor today, but he studied in China, Chinese traditional medicine. He studied in India and Sri Lanka, Ayurvedic medicine, etc. And then now he's built this incredible practice of helping people heal using different medicines and protocols from all around the world and these different types of medicines. And his practice got so big that he had a year-long wait list. He's like, I can't help all these people. I can't clone myself, but what I can do is I can train people to do what I do. And so he created the Integrative Health Practitioner organization. And I was already a health coach when I discovered it. And I loved the idea of being able to run functional medicine labs for people in order to truly understand what's going on inside the body. We can see the outside, but we can't see the inside, and it's just as important. And when we can see where these imbalances are, then we know exactly how to help the body come back into balance. And as I said earlier, it will heal itself. When we create the right environment, it will heal itself. It's incredibly powerful, and that's what it's designed to do. We just have to allow it to do that.
And that's one of the best things that people should know, is that you need to listen to your body, and going to a professional like yourself is ideal because you really need to have that professional opinion, and you may feel one way, but the practitioner will really help you get to feeling your top-notch, most balanced self.
And that's what you want for people, right? Is their top-notch, most balanced self. And you're 100% right about listening to your body, because our body is talking to us all the time. But our modern life has us so busy, do, go, trying to get it all done, work, look after the kids, get them to their sports, etc., that we don't slow down enough to listen. Or we notice the symptom, we notice that our body's talking to us, but we're very quick to write it off as, oh, it's aging, oh, it's genetics, oh, it's seasonal allergies. And it's not, in most cases, it's not. It's actually your body asking you to do something different. And when you slow down and you recognize this, you can do something different. People just look around and accept this and don't think that there's anything else that they can do.
Exactly. And what made you want to become an integrative health practitioner? Because it sounds like you're super passionate about helping others. And I think we all are in the field. But what you do is definitely a specialty. What made you want to get into this? Is it something you went into in school, or you just followed for yourself?
It's not what I had done at school. In fact, medicine/health and wellness was never really on my radar, other than I grew up in a high level athlete. And so I recognize the importance of fitness and, wanting to live a healthy life. But what did that mean? Like, I hadn't ever done nutrition courses or anything. I actually did a commerce degree, right? But 24 years into my career in the hotel industry, big fish bought little fish. I was let go with an hour to clear out my desk and no word of thanks. And in that moment, I knew three things. One, I was never going to work for someone else again. Two, that whatever I did next had to be of more service to humanity and to the planet. And three, I had no idea what that was going to be, but I was open to being guided. And so, and guided I was. And over the course of that year, I actually came across a company that specialized in brain supplementation. And that was my first aha. I went, I use my brain 24/7, and no one has ever told me that I could do more for my brain. And I knew there was near epidemic levels of Alzheimer's and dementia. But I also had a grandmother who was 99 years old, living at home by herself, fully cognitively functioning, able to care for herself. And I went, well, how do I sign up for her path? What more do I need to be doing for my brain? And it got me thinking about her life. And she was born in little old Christchurch, New Zealand, in the bottom corner of the world, before all these 100,000 man-made toxins were introduced since World War II, growing all their own food on the property. And then I compared that to my life. I was raised in Tokyo, Japan. I spent 11 years there in the 70s at the height of manufacturing plants spewing out toxins. And I realized I'm behind the 8 ball compared to my grandmother because I'm toxic. There's no way I cannot be toxic after growing up in that environment. So I started learning about the brain, learning about toxicity of the brain, detoxing, and that led me to working with some physiotherapists, because a lot of the benefits of this brain supplementation would also help people struggling with concussion recovery. And 4 months after getting into all of this, my oldest daughter got a concussion in her first grade 12 soccer game of the season.
Wow.
And I realized she isn't capable in that moment of being so concussed. It was a bad concussion, to go to an appointment with a practitioner and come home and tell me what they said she should do for her recovery. So I started going with her, and I was learning too, right? 2 months after that, I'm driving to Vancouver, and I get a phone call from the high school that my grade 8 daughter has a suspected concussion from gym class.
Oh, wow.
I literally look out my windshield and I'm like, really? This is how you show me my path? Stop taking out my children. Like, really? 2 concussions in the same family, and one of them's from gym class? So I start going to her appointments as well. So I'm learning a lot about concussion recovery. I'm the only one bringing this nutritional piece for the brain to concussion recovery. The great news is both girls fully recovered, but I had my next aha working with them, because I thought, well, what do other people do that don't have a mom available to take you to all the appointments and hold you accountable and make sure you're doing what you should be doing, because their mom's working full time, right? And so I realized there was this gap, and not just for people recovering from concussions, but really anytime you are in the mess of healing from something, right? You feel alone. You don't know if you're taking the right steps. You're going online to self-diagnose or figure out what more you can be doing, which isn't always helpful. In fact, often it can be very unhelpful. And people need more guidance. And so that's where your guided health journey came from, is that I decided and felt that I was being guided to helping people heal and filling this gap. And I was invited to work in a clinic, a holistic clinic, but I couldn't get insurance to work there. And so I realized, okay, I need to go back to school to get a certification so that I can get insurance to work there. And I contacted a friend who was a life coach, because that had been ruminating in the back of my head, but it hadn't landed. And I said, I need to go back to school. I think I should do life coaching. You've done it. I want a good school. Where did you go? What did you do? And he just said to me, you don't need to be a life coach. You need to be a health coach. And I just went, what? What's that? Never heard of that before. Found a couple of different health coaching schools online that met my criteria. One really resonated, spoke with them. I think that was a Thursday, Friday. I started on Monday. and never looked back. When I started those programs, I just realized that I had landed, I had found my passion, and I went through all of their programs, including doing my life coaching, which I wasn't as passionate about. So that reaffirmed that my health coaching was of much more interest to me. And they introduced me to Dr. Stephen Cabral of the Integrative Health Practitioner organization. And when I saw the ability to run the functional medicine lab tests and truly see what's going on inside the body, I knew that was what I wanted to be doing, because it's really helpful to people to see the data, to see the science, to see the numbers about what's going on in their body, and to understand that, and to then be able to take action. A lot of people don't want to take action if they're, not really noticing the symptoms, or they don't really know what's going on. When I work with my clients and I'm recommending a supplement for them, I'm telling them exactly why they're taking it so that they'll keep taking it, versus how many people take supplements and then just stop taking them.
Exactly.
They don't know what it's doing for them, right? So when they have the data, they can understand why they need something, where their body's out of balance, and then, how long it might be, in terms of the protocol that they're going to be on in order to bring the body back into balance and truly heal. So I absolutely love this work. As a health coach, I was helping people lose weight. I was helping people change the way they eat and get healthier, and people would do well, but they'd hit a wall. And without the labs, I couldn't tell why they were hitting a wall. Are they hitting a wall because their hormones are out of balance? Are they hitting a wall because their cortisol's through the roof? Are they hitting a wall because their thyroid's not functioning properly and slowing down? Are they hitting a wall because of, gut imbalances and too much bacteria, too much yeast? Now I can show them why they're hitting a wall, and then help the body heal so we can break through that wall, because a body in balance doesn't hold on to excess weight or get sick or harbor disease. We're just all out of balance because there's too much stress, there's not enough sleep, there's poor nutrition, and all of these things have us out of balance, and the body gets too depleted, especially under that stress. We're burning through minerals and vitamins, and we just don't have enough left for the body to come back into balance on its own. So we guide it back into balance, give it that support, and then it can heal itself.
Absolutely true. I know with the society right now, it's hard to be in balance, but with your guidance, be great. And in your bio, you had a two-prong approach. Tell us a little bit about that approach, and how does that work for our listeners out there with the testing, and what else is involved in that?
Yeah, so the two-prong approach is having people realize for themselves that, maybe I do need to do a little bit more for my health. And the starting point of that is my Discover Your Toxic Load quiz. We live in a toxic world, unfortunately, compared to what the human body was designed to live in. So as I said earlier, there's been 100,000 chemicals introduced since World War II. Those are getting into our airways, our waterways, our food. We're putting them on our skin. And all of that starts to bog down our liver, which is charged with keeping our body pure and clean. And it tries to cleanse our blood every 6 minutes. But when it isn't functioning properly because we've bogged it down with so many toxins, it creates inflammation in the body, and then that can trigger cells to turn on disease. In addition to that, we have our depleted soil systems. So we're not getting the nutrients that our liver needs to really function properly. So over time, we kind of hit our tipping point of what the liver can cope with. And that's where our toxic load starts to trigger illness. So when we can understand what our toxic load is, and we can lessen our toxic load and lower it through a detox program, then we are helping to create a body that is inhospitable to disease. We're lowering inflammation. We're actually doing a complete reset for the body. And that's really important. There's no point putting a healing protocol in on top of a toxic load. Think of that toxic load as an overflowing garbage bin in a park. And then you put another piece of garbage on the top. Where does it end up? It doesn't go down inside the garbage bin. It falls to the side. And the same thing happens inside our body. If we put a healing protocol in on top of this toxic load, not all of that protocol is getting to the cells that need it for healing. Some of it is, but not all of it. And so it takes a lot longer in that process to be effective. But if we first clear out the toxins, create a body that's inhospitable to disease, clear the pathways, and then put the healing protocol in, it's going to happen much more quickly. It's going to be much more effective. So with every client, we first do the detox. And then we do the healing protocol. And it's timed in such a way that we actually run the lab tests first. They take about a month for me to get the results. They're mailed to your home, and then you mail them to the lab. So you don't have to go anywhere to do them. It's really convenient. And then it takes about a month for me to get the results, though. So partway through that time, then we start the detox. And then when we're reviewing the results, you're pretty much done the detox. You have another week to go. And then you know what your healing protocol is. You can have time to order that. And then you move straight from your detox into your healing protocol with no chance to retox after your detox before starting the healing protocol. And that is what gets results for people.
So everyone out there, need a detox. That's the key.
It is absolutely, it's so key. We know with the science of epigenetics that basically it's what the trigger of disease is our genes plus the environment we create inside our body. And for years, we used to think it was just our genes. And people would say, well, I just got poor genes, right? I'm going to get heart disease because my dad had heart disease and and I just had poor genes. That's not true. We have those genes, and those genes can predispose you to disease, yes, but you can decide if you're going to turn on the trigger. And the trigger is the environment you create inside your body. So when you keep that environment clean and inhospitable to disease and inflammation levels at healthy levels, we're not turning on those genes to cause that heart disease. And that's relatively new science in the last, 10 years or so. And it's so important because it puts every single one of us in the driver's seat of our health. We get to choose the environment we create. And I think that's really powerful. And if we look at it, Ayurvedic medicine, Latin American medicine, Chinese medicine, to this day, they all still detox. But it's only in the Western world where we think that having a shower every day and washing our outer body is enough for good hygiene and good health. And it's not, because we really do have to look after our inner body as well.
And everyone out there listening, that's the key, is make sure you contact Melissa and get some help if you're feeling really not good. And even if you are feeling well, sometimes you do need to still detox. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. So when I first did my detox, so it's a functional medicine detox that I learned all about how to, run it and deliver it for people and guide people through the program. It's not just here, go do this, because again, how many people would fall off on day one, right? I guide people through it. I put them on an app. I see how they're doing and support them. I had a lady who she's just finished, but on day one, she wanted to quit. And I said, well, tell me why you want to quit, right? And then we worked through it so that she could keep going. And, that first week was really hard for her. And she was very, very toxic. And so, her body starting to detox took a lot of energy and she was really tired. But by week 2, she's like, oh my God, I'm sleeping better than I've ever slept in my life. And I have enough energy to get through the day. I don't even need an afternoon nap, right? That's week 2. That's not 6 months down the road. That was the week after next, if you were to start tomorrow, right? So the body starts to respond really, really quickly, but I guide people through, because just like with my children and their healing, they needed to be guided through. When we're in it and our brain is talking to us and going, you don't even know what you're doing. These recipes are different. You've never made this before. How do you know if you're going to like it? All of those things that we have, those thoughts in our head that we all have, start to pull us back into our comfort zone where our brain knows it can keep us safe because you're alive and you're here, and that's what it's trying to do. But you need to have the power to speak back to your brain to say, hey, no, I know what I'm doing and I can chat with Melissa. I can get the answers. You just need to bear with me while we come over here to this new comfort zone of better health. And when people have that support and can do that and can be in control of their brain instead of their brain being in control of them, that's when we get success. And so that's why I love guiding people through these programs at such a high level of support, because I want people to have success. I want them to feel different at the end of the 21 days. And I have never had somebody get to the end of the 21 days and go, I wish I didn't do that. It's just like the gym workout, right? And whoever goes to the gym and then afterwards goes, I wish I didn't do that. They feel so much better at the end of the 21 days that I would say 90% of the people go on to make this part of their, their habit in their life. And every quarter they'll do a 7-day detox because the toxins keep coming in. So we got to keep getting them out.
And what's the most common issue you see in your practice of the clients that you work with?
People struggling to find out why they have discomfort around food. So, we eat 3 times a day. So it sucks when there's pain, and it's either pain or gas or bloating or heartburn or acid reflux, all of these things that are so common. People are popping antacids like candy, and they don't know why, because it's just started at some point, and they try to figure out what food's causing it, and they're really not able to. But when we do the detox and then we look at the labs, there's labs that will tell me if you've got mold or fungus overgrowth, yeast or bacterial overgrowth in your gut. And once we know that, then we know how to get rid of it. We can run a lab that will determine food sensitivities that could be triggering the problem. And very often people will be like, well, it can't be the food. I've eaten it all my life. And the thing is it's the combination of food that your body doesn't love, that as a young child, it was probably trying to tell you that it didn't love it. But your parents said, you got to eat all the food on your plate because there's children starving in Africa, right? Or you have to drink your milk because I said you have to drink your milk. They meant well. They were marketed to that milk was the best way for kids' bones to grow up strong, right? They grew up in a war era where there were rations and they went hungry, and they don't want you to go hungry. And so they want you to eat what's on the plate. I experienced that myself, and it's out of love they're doing this. But the problem is if your body's trying to tell you, I really don't like milk, and you're a child and you don't have the vocabulary to say, the milk makes me have cramps, or the milk doesn't make me feel good. You just say, I don't want milk. You don't get heard. So we're overriding the body's messages. And then we keep doing it over and over again. The body stops sending those messages. But at some point, we hit a tipping point where our toxic load is so high, and we've continued eating these foods that our body doesn't love, that cause inflammation every time. And now the body is speaking more loudly to you, trying to create bigger symptoms so that you will notice and then do something different.
I know that diet for kids like ADHD and ADD and different types of food that they intake can cause hyperactivity or underactivity. That's a big cause. And the next question would be, who is your ideal client? And I'm assuming kids are in your spectrum as well.
Kids are in my spectrum, and for that exact reason, that so often kids are taken to the doctor and they're put on a drug, and nobody's ever stopped to look at what they're eating and what they're drinking, right? We get so much sugar through what we drink, but deficiencies in vitamins and minerals caused by stress that could be passed down from mom, like, through from birth, etc. If she was deficient, then they're going to start off deficient. These deficiencies can trigger some of these, ADD, ADHD, etc. And even anxiety. Foods can trigger these things. And so it's really important to look at nutrition as a starting point and see how much improvement you can get with adjusting what the child is eating. And then, as the, next step, maybe that's when you go to the doctor, and if you're looking for a drug, but don't start with the drug, because the drug has side effects, whereas supplements and nutrition doesn't have side effects, right? So, but my ideal client, generally I work with women that are aged, 30 to honestly 75. Right. But I have just as many men in my practice. It's just, when you niche down, they're like, what's your market segment? Well, then I'll say women, but I do have men coming to me as well, because they struggle with food as well. And I have worked with children. I'm currently working with children with anxiety, and they're changing their diets made a big difference. Children with mold. In fact, it was interesting. One of the children had mold and the other one didn't. And so when I saw that in the lab test, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I talked to the mom. Well, it turned out it was the older child that had mold, and they lived in a house previous to the younger child being born. And the house, I guess it was a townhouse, and the townhouse next door had a flood, and the child's bedroom and crib were up against the wall of the house that had the flood. So there was probably mold spores in that wall. And then as a young baby with a very sensitive, newly growing microbiome, he developed some mold. So now we're getting rid of that mold. And I'm glad we found it, because mold is one of those things that's really hard to find on symptoms alone, because those symptoms can be similar to so many other things. And it's not something that's commonly thought of. And yet people's health will deteriorate. And doctors keep running blood work and other labs and saying, we can't find anything wrong with you. It's all in your head. Wow. And, that upsets people that are feeling like crap. They're like, it's not all in my head. And if that's you, consider mold. And we can run tests on the functional medicine side to see if you have mold inside your body. And then if we see that, then we know exactly how to eradicate that as well.
Yeah, overall, that's something interesting. I didn't think about mold. I know some clients of mine said that about flooding, or businesses that flood and you're going in and buying products that have mold in the area. That would not be great. That's something to think about. It's kind of scary overall.
And, mold exists naturally. It's, in this time of year when leaves are falling off trees and then they stay on the ground all winter, well, there's mold, right? But when the mold is coming into our house and we're breathing it in constantly, that's when it can become a problem. And so it's something people just need to be aware of, that it can be a problem. And if I'm starting to not feel great, could that be the reason, as you start to, do tests and narrow things down to determine what's going on.
And talking about the overall wellness, what is your ideal definition of total wellness if you were to describe it or make the definition yourself?
I think total wellness has to include all parts of your life. So it's not just having, good health and poor relationships, or no money, or having loads of money but really poor health. I think there's a quote that says, the man who's a millionaire but loses his health in the process of making the million, is not a success, right? So look at those key aspects of your life, from finances to relationships, to your health, to your spirituality, and to your purpose. What is it that you're put on this planet to do? And when you focus on all of those, that's when you can create total wellness. It's not just looking at one piece of it. Just like in my work with people's health, I'm not just looking at their heart. I'm not just looking at their gut. I'm looking at all of it, how their mindset is impacting, their belief as to whether they can heal, their imbalances in the gut is impacting their brain and their mental clarity, or their brain fog. It's impacting their hormones. We are so interconnected that we have to look at our whole being within health. But for total wellness, you have to look at all of those key aspects of your life.
It's absolutely true. Your health is your wealth. That's the biggest thing I tell everybody.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll learn more about Melissa Daly and talk about your gut health. We're back here with Melissa Daly talking about the importance of how to take care of your health and to prevent serious illness. In your bio, you mentioned that you are a registered health coach. For our listeners out there, explain what a registered health coach is and what they do for you.
So a registered health coach is somebody that can guide you or coach you on your healing journey. When we go to the doctor and they diagnose what is wrong with us, they might give us a drug to take, or they might say, you need to lose some weight so that, and change the way you eat because you're on the path to being diabetic or to having heart disease. But in the 5 or 7 minute appointment you get with the doctor, that's all you get. There's no support. You're left on your own to figure out, well, how do I change the way I eat? How do I lose weight? I've been trying to do that for years. It doesn't work, right? And so this new role of health coaching, which is really starting to expand in the last 5 years, is holding your hand, showing you how to do that, because we've learned how to do that through going to school, but you probably don't have time to, go back to school for a couple of years to figure this all out for yourself. So allowing yourself to be guided by someone that is trained in this allows you to relax into the process. Trust in the process. When we relax into that process, we're letting go of the stress, and the body can only heal in a relaxed state. If we're trying to figure it all out on our own, and as I said earlier, going to Dr. Google, there's so much conflicting information online. How do you know what is right? And you don't know. And so your brain's chirping at you that you don't know if it's right. You're still in a stress state. And so no matter what you do, your body is not going to heal as effectively as if you seek the help of a coach that knows exactly how to guide you through this process and get you the results that you want. And let's face it, we have business coaches, we have sports coaches all our lives, right? We have coaches in different aspects of our life coaches and relationship coaches, etc. As you said earlier, health is your true wealth, or health is your greatest asset. And when you invest in it, then everything else can flow. You can't build a business or earn an income if you don't have your health. The quickest way to get success in any area of your life is to work with a coach. And it's no different for your health than it is from your finances and working with an investment advisor or your relationship coach or your sports coach.
And yeah, definitely having a coach like I consider myself a coach in the fitness realm, and you're a coach in the medical and also wellness realm. I had a big question about this. A lot of people ask me, can anxiety, depression, and stress cause someone to have gut health issues?
Absolutely. And it's like the chicken and the egg. So if 95% of serotonin, our feel-good, happy hormone, is made in the gut. If our gut is out of balance, then our gut may not be able to produce serotonin in enough quantity that you can feel happy and feel good. Dopamine is also made in the gut, right? It is so easy for our gut to get out of balance in today's world. If we're not getting enough sleep, our gut will become out of balance, because when we don't get enough sleep, we actually kill off our good bacteria in our gut. High stress kills off good bacteria in our gut. When we take antibiotics, we're killing off everything and wiping out our microbiome. But birth control and, inflammatory foods like dairy, like gluten, all of these can impact the health of our gut. And these are things that are readily available that we're going about eating, drinking, taking without realizing the impact it has on our gut. I didn't know any of this when I was in the corporate world, right? And in fact, I say that if the entire world could simply do level 1 of the registered health coaching program that I did, we would have a lot healthier world. But that's not realistic. And so that's where working with a coach, if you haven't done that training, is going to help you, because you learn all of this. So when our gut is out of balance, it's not making enough serotonin and dopamine for us to feel good. And that's when we go to the doctor and we get diagnosed with anxiety or depression. But the other thing is that if there's, something else going on and we're not feeling great, and, maybe we've just had a tough time of things at work not going well, a relationship not going well, and our resiliency isn't there, and we go to the doctor and say this, again, the doctor's very quick to write that prescription, right? And so then you start taking that medication. Well, that starts damaging your gut. So now your gut's out of balance because you've taken a prescription medication because of anxiety, but now your body can't produce the serotonin and dopamine to the level that it should. So that's why I say it's the chicken and the egg. Either way, our gut and our moods are so interconnected. And I invite everybody who is feeling like, oh, I might be going down that path of anxiety or depression, to see what is going on inside your gut. And again, what foods are you eating? Some foods can be triggering that anxiety or depression. The quickest way to get to depression is to go eat a whole bunch of sugar. Feel good for a while. And then when you crash, there's a quick depression for you, right? We've all done that. But understanding how our body works and looking at food as medicine and food can sometimes be the culprit. And we need to understand that. And when we understand that, we can adjust the way we're eating and everything becomes a choice. If I don't want to feel that way in the next day or two, I'm not going to eat this food today. Doesn't mean you can't ever have it. It just means you get to make a choice around how that food is going to make you feel and when you might want to eat it.
Yeah, and that leads to my next question is, what are some of the main gut issues that you deal with, and are they treatable or curable? That you, like, for instance, Crohn's, IBS, all different ones you hear on the radio and TV. And I didn't even know serotonin and dopamine was made in the gut. With all the schooling I had, I never knew that. I thought it was always in the brain. I thought always that the body produced it and the brain uses it for all the emotional feelings. That's great that
The
you.
brain makes some, but for those two neurotransmitters, much more of it is made in the gut, which is why the balance and the health of our gut is so important for our mood and happiness, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also so important because, all disease does start in the gut, as Hippocrates said over 2,000 years ago. And it's going back to what I had said earlier, when we create that environment, that dysbiosis or imbalance in the gut, it's creating inflammation, and then inflammation, chronic inflammation over time, will trigger those genes that we're born with to turn on that disease. But if we don't live in that place of chronic inflammation and we have done our detoxes and are keeping our body clean, those genes just don't have to be turned on.
Nice. That's great. It's good to not have to turn on anything that doesn't need to be turned on. So the body works in homeostasis, relaxed. And in your bio, you mentioned about natural herbs and supplements. How important is it to actually not be on Google, like you said, and research your symptoms and then try to self-diagnose yourself in a store or a health food store and be told to take 50 supplements that will make you the best person that ever lived? So I wanted to know about that.
So again, the supplement industry is a very broad industry, and Big Pharma owns some of the supplement brands, and it's very much a industry where you get what you pay for. Okay. If you're buying a cheap supplement, then you're probably not getting much that your body can do with, because there's going to be a lot of fillers in there. There's going to be the smallest amount of the ingredient that you might think you need, but that's not even enough of it for your body to do anything with. There's just enough of it for them to write that name on the label to say that it's in it, right? Whereas when you buy supplements from a trusted brand, and there's many really good functional medicine brands out there like Pure Encapsulations, Douglas Laboratories, Thorne Research, Biomed, AOR, those are the brands I go to. They are made because on the functional medicine side, we want to see you heal. It's human health over profit. Whereas on the pharmaceutical side, they really do optimize shareholder profit over human health. And that's not how it should be. On the functional medicine side, the ingredients in the product are the bioavailable forms, which means the body can best absorb them. There's enough of each product in it for the body to do something with. And for many of them, people will start to notice an improvement within just a couple weeks of using the product. Working with a coach that can guide you in your supplements also helps, because then you know how much to be taking, how many times a day to be taking them, etc. Like, everybody knows vitamin C boosts the immune system. And how many times a day are people taking it? Do they realize that it's water soluble? Did they know that you shouldn't just take it in the morning and take like 2,000 or 3,000 milligrams in the morning and think you're good for the day, that you're actually far better off taking 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day, because the body will use what it needs each time and get rid of what it doesn't need. But it can't store all of that in the morning. So if you put 3,000 milligrams in, it might use 1,000, you're going to pee out 2,000. Well, that's a waste of money. And we hear people say supplements are a waste of money because you just pee them out. But you don't if you know how to use them properly. And that's really where having the support of somebody who is, again, educated in this field that can help guide you. So, supplements, just doing it on your own. I know it's hard. I know it's overwhelming. And again, when I was in the corporate world and didn't know what I know today, I experienced that. I would go to the health food store thinking, okay, well, that's better than buying them at Costco or Walmart, right? And I would ask the person in the health food store for help. And there was a particular, multivitamin for women over 40 that I was recommended. But every time I took it, it made me feel so nauseous unless I took it with food. And I realized that when I was traveling, because I'd, be in a hotel and I'd want to take my supplements before I went down for breakfast with colleagues. And from going from my hotel room down the elevator to the lobby restaurant, I would feel nauseous. I'm like, why? And I learned that that was all the fillers in that product that my gut didn't like. And when I started using really good quality products, I can take every one of them on an empty stomach.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was just because it said take with food because of, I didn't realize the fillers do that, or like they're hard in the stomach or absorption rates are different. Oh, that's great to know.
So sometimes it'll, like, you don't want to take, for instance, if you're using a probiotic and you're taking an antibiotic, you don't want to take them both at the same time because they'll cancel each other out, right? Or a probiotic and maybe an antimicrobial because you've got yeast in your gut and that you're trying to kill off. You don't want to take it all at the same time. So sometimes there are specific reasons for why you might want to take it with food versus away from food. But again, understanding that is really important. And it, you know, the staff in the health food store, are they trained in this, or are they people behind the counter that just know how to check you out and take your money? Right. And in my case, if the owner was in the store, she knew a lot more than the actual staff, but it was the staff member that recommended this vitamin to me that clearly my body didn't like. And that was kind of my first aha, that there's more to this industry than at the surface level. And it can be quite hard to navigate.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of people in those stores are actually just take a course, or like they just get an overview of all the supplements. But in your podcast, I'm really curious, don't wait for the wake up. In your podcast, don't wait for a wake up call. What do you focus on that podcast?
So that's education. My message to humanity is that, as we've already said, health is your true wealth. Health is your greatest asset. When we look after our health first, everything else in life can flow. Nobody wants to build a business or try to, build an income from their sick bed. And there's so much that every single one of us can do in each day that's really easy, that if we only knew, we would choose option B over option A, right? And I realized when I got into my health coaching that I was going, oh, if only I'd known. If only I'd known, I would have done that differently. If only I'd known, I would have done this, right? So my whole purpose is education, to give people tips that they can take and incorporate into their daily life to improve their health. And, I've done topics on sleep. There's so many things that we do in any given day that are negatively impacting our sleep. And 70 million Americans are struggling with sleep. But we're not taught that. We're not taught how to sleep because we're born, we know how to sleep. We just assume people know how to sleep. But in today's world, with high stress and a coffee addicted society and poor nutrition and the times that we eat and the blue light from our screens, all of these are negatively impacting our sleep. And we don't realize it. We might associate stress. That's it. All those other factors, people aren't connecting to their poor sleep. And even if they do, they don't know, well, what do I do about it? So through my podcast, I try to educate in, small bits, 40 minutes or so of little tips that people can take away and incorporate into their daily life in order to just take baby steps every day to improving their health.
That's perfect. Everyone listen to this podcast. Check out Melissa's podcast. We're all here about helping each other out and learning from each other. I learned so much from my guest on the show. It's amazing. It's the greatest thing ever. And also, has there anything I did not cover you would like to mention to everyone listening or watching out there? And how do we hire you? Because I know people are listening and like, how do I get a hold of Melissa? And all your information will be on the bio section for everyone to have as well.
A couple of things quickly. I just want to go back because you asked a question about gut issues and are they curable earlier? And I didn't ever get to answering that. So you were asking about Crohn's and colitis and IBS and all of these things. So all of them, we can improve people's symptoms. As I said, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say that I can cure you, but we can certainly improve people's health outcomes when we rebalance the body and the body starts to heal itself and create significant difference for people and alleviate many, if not all, of the symptoms. The people that I see the most are people with bacterial and yeast overgrowth, and then now seeing people with mold. And these are all things that we can eradicate from the gut in order to bring the gut back into balance, which again, it positively impacts neurotransmitter function and lowers inflammation on the body. The more the gut is in balance, the fewer food sensitivities we have. And so people just feel so much better and better mental clarity, much less brain fog. And most people don't realize that that's triggered by the health of their gut. So I just wanted to answer that. In terms of how people get hold of me and hire me, I offer a complimentary 30-minute consult to every single person, because I need to understand what your health goals are, what you're struggling with. You need to understand if I'm even the person that can help you. And if I'm not, I have a whole slew of other integrative health practitioners that I'm connected with. And there may be somebody that specializes in what's going on for you that I can refer you to. And my website is simply yourguidedhealthjourney.com. And you can click at the top of that. There's a book button. You can book straight in for your 30-minute consult, or there's a contact form and you can send me a message and I will get back to you. I also have my Discover Your Toxic Load quiz that we mentioned, and I'd love you to put that link to that in the show notes so that people can take that quiz. Just find out where you are today. Don't walk away from this podcast with your toxic load. Take the 10 minutes that it takes to fill out this quiz and find out where you're at. It will likely be an aha. And those symptoms you cannot just pass off as aging, genetics, and seasonal allergies. They're your body asking you to do something different. And now you know you need to, and now you know how to do it.
And I really appreciate all the information that you're giving us today, because it is such an important for your gut health. It's a life-changing situation, because your gut, if it's out of balance, you could have a miserable life. I know I've dealt with issues in the morning with my stomach and other people. It makes you not want to go to work or go to school, or you have to have healthy gut, or you may have a miserable life. Is that correct, Melissa, right?
It is correct. And it sounds very, very dark, but it's so much starts with our gut. I recently started working with a lady who had gone through mainstream medicine, discovered that she had gut imbalances, but again, they didn't give her any guidance of how to heal from it other than here's a prescription. And she didn't want the prescription. She wanted to heal naturally. And in just 2 weeks of working with me, 10 months of pain is gone.
Wow. That's amazing, because living in pain from just a gut problem, and it can be solved, is
exactly
is number one. I know so many people in the world that are dealing with gut issues and listen to this and I'm like, wow, I dealt 20 years with gut problems. I wish I met Melissa way back. But it's been awesome having you on the show. I greatly appreciate your time. Everything will be in the bio section for everyone to find, and contact Melissa and make sure you listen to a wellness practitioner and not try to do it yourself. But thank you, Melissa. Have an awesome fit day and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Hi, I'm your host here, Jason Cronan, and thank you so much, Melissa, for being with us today and sharing about your business and what you can do to help your gut health. The Body Express Wellness Solution tip is, like Melissa was saying, find out the foods that you're allergic to. Use a food planner or a journal and write down the foods that are causing a problem, or the foods that you feel really good eating and the foods you feel really bad eating, and also the foods maybe in between. You never know, you might be gluten intolerant, which has caused lots of problems for lots of people over the years. Just think, finding out the root cause of your stomach pains or issues or fatigue, or even your son or daughter's ADHD, maybe from food. So please go out there and get checked for any food sensitivity or allergy you may have, because once you do, your life will be totally different and you will feel much better. But thank you again, everybody, for listening, watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you can, please help sponsor the podcast. That'd be greatly appreciated. Just $1 a month will be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys, and have a great fit day. Take care.